and roll music through a horn, they said. Bobbing through the Alaska, rocking through the Alaska, bobbing through the Alaska, rock now. Bobbing right on through the midnight sun, strolling home by the groovy gun. Bobbing through the Alaska, rocking through the Alaska, bobbing through the Alaska, rock now. Bobbing in Alaska just the early morning. All the people was a-rowing and a-rocking the dead. With that rock and roll music through a horn, they said. Bobbing through the Alaska, rocking through the Alaska, bobbing through the Alaska, rocking through the Alaska, bobbing through the Alaska, rocking through the Alaska, bobbing through Alaska, rocking through Alaska, bobbing through Alaska.
Creativity comes in many different forms. For some of us, just hanging a picture on the wall is the limit of our creativity. Other people actually paint the pictures. Hello, I'm Scout Foster, and welcome again to Rain Country. These colorful scenes of Alaska hang on many people's walls. The artist first came to Southeast when she was on vacation in 1950, and this was the most exciting spot she could afford to travel to. She arrived in Juneau on one of those glorious sunny days and fell in love with the town and decided to look for work and a place to live while the ship she was on continued on to Skagway and then was going to return to Juneau. Well, she found both the job and the place to live and never returned to her position in Los Angeles. Since that time, these kinds of Alaska scenes have been painted by Ree Munoz.
I paint what I want to paint. And I think somehow or other that shows in my artwork, that whatever I'm painting I really like. I convey that feeling somehow or other. And therefore, maybe they like it too? I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to do is to say that I like Alaska a lot. That I like what I see. My ideas come from things that I see. And I go all over. All these paintings that I've painted are all from scenes or subjects that I've actually seen, except the few that I've done on legends. I go to a lot of villages, and obviously I like to paint people. And I look around, and when I see something that I really like, I paint it.
After finding a subject she really likes, Ree draws quick sketches of the scene and then works from those sketches when she gets back to her studio at home.
Okay, these are the sketches that I did for this painting. They were done this summer in Metlakatla at a cannery where they were on their coffee break. And several people were sitting on this enormous pile of nets, and that's what intrigued me. Here you can see I took color notes. BK stands for black, OR stands for orange. The nets were black and orange, but I ignored that because I thought that would make the picture too complicated, so I just made the nets green. Well, when I decided to, when I came back home and decided to make a painting of this, what I usually do is I do a number of rough thumbnail sketches to see exactly how I want the composition to be. My first thumbnail sketch was a horizontal one that I wasn't too crazy about. Then I did the same thing in vertical, and I liked it and put a mountain in it, except the mountain kind of sloughs off to the right, and I didn't like that. So here, this one is more or less the same, with the mountain coming back up again, and I like that better. This one also is the same as this one, except as it's seen at a further distance. I wasn't too crazy about that. Here I put a man on the right-hand side, besides this woman on the left, and the trouble there was that my eye just flitted back from one to the other, and so that didn't work. Then this one, I just filled in some shades of gray, with still the one woman sitting here and three on top of the nets. Once more, I thought I'd try a horizontal with a lot of people this time, and that distracted from the main interest of the picture, which was really that huge pile of nets with the three people sitting on it. So I discarded that, and I came back to the one that I liked the best, which was the one woman sitting here on the dock and three on top. And finally, I put another man in here, which I thought the picture needed, and I liked this design. So what I did with this, I put my opaque viewer on this piece of paper, on this design here, and projected it on the wall, and then I put my watercolor paper on the wall and traced it on this watercolor paper in pencil, very lightly. So just to show you what it would be like on the watercolor paper, here I did this in pen and ink, and it's very rough, as you can see. So, but I did like this design. One of the reasons I liked this last man here is because the slope of his back brings you right back into the painting again. Then as I paint them, I do change things quite a bit. For instance, this man was looking to the right in the sketch, and I turned him back to the left to make him more of the group. This woman had on a different hat. She had blonde hair. Her legs were quite different in the sketch, and I changed it all. But at least this way I have an idea of what I want to do, and have a pretty good idea, so that I won't be doing a lot of erasing on the paper. It's probably going to be called Mug Up. I understand that most of the canneries, when they go on coffee break, they call it mug up. So I'll probably call it mug up. What I have left to do on this painting is I want to make the mountains darker so there'll be more contrast between the mountains and the net. Then I have to do the sky, and there's a few more birds in there, and then for all practical purposes, it's finished. And then at that point, I take these two matte corners, as they're called, and put them down here and more or less get an idea of the exact dimensions I want the finished painting to be. So I can lower it or raise it up or whatever. And then I just put a little pencil mark here, 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 and here. And then I bring it into the gallery and they frame it. That's it.
In addition to painting, Ree Munoz has also illustrated books and designed tapestries. But despite her success, Ree says it's very difficult to support oneself as an artist. For those hoping to achieve that, two factors are important. One is producing saleable art, the other is doing reproductions. Ree does 80 or 90 original paintings each year and then selects about a dozen for reproduction.
When I do a reproduction, that is a reproduction of one of my paintings. I have an edition of 750 made. And now those reproductions are my bread and butter, you might say. They keep me going. I send those out to galleries in Alaska and also in the lower states, and they buy a certain amount. So I have a certain amount that I can count on every month coming in from these sales. But no way could I make a living if I just did original paintings.
Could you describe what your days are then, or typical days?
Well, no, I can't describe what my typical day is, but I can tell you what I would like my typical day to be, and that is to work 4 hours every day. But I simply cannot do that. I have all sorts of interruptions. Some of them good, some of them, just plain boring. But I simply cannot get in 4 hours a day.
Ree Munoz began her Alaska art career by showing paintings in Juneau shows. Then, as her popularity grew, stores and galleries in other towns began selling her paintings. Eventually, she had to hire a secretary to help with the many details and has since opened her own Juneau gallery. Over the years, Ree says her painting has changed to a more simple style.
You're inclined to really futz around with it. And it's very difficult to get away from that and make something simple. Prime example of my artwork is that I used to do trees, evergreen trees, and I would show all the branches and practically show all the needles. Now I simply make a cone, and it's just a solid color, the cone, which symbolizes an evergreen tree. And it works fine.
To continue her fine work, Ree Munoz must always be looking for new scenes she can put on her sketch pad. But she has a hard time explaining what it is that makes a scene worth painting.
It's just a feeling that I have. It's just a gut feeling, what I like to paint and what I don't like to paint. And people have said to me, for instance, that they had never really noticed before the steps in Juneau until they saw it in one of my paintings. So I'm looking at it in a different way. I'm looking at it because because I like it, you see. I really like it. I think that's what an artist is. They see things that other people just walk right by.
just a lonely night. Alone is never right. I know it always makes you cry.
Another creative form is basket making. These baskets are on display at the Alaska State Museum in Juneau. Natives from southeast Alaska made baskets from two different materials. One was the stringy inner bark of the cedar tree, the other was the spruce root. It was more difficult to make baskets from the spruce root. In fact, it took years of practice and a lot of skill to be able to make those baskets. Today, they're highly prized and very expensive. And like a lot of skills learned from an earlier age, fewer people today are making these baskets. But this is a skill that may not be lost because Northwest Coast basket making is still being taught.
Really, bark and basketry entered into every phase of early life where if you didn't know how to weave, you really were not in, for instance, if a girl didn't know how to do basketry, there would be very few people who would want to marry her because all of the things that they used, like the baskets for berry picking, the baskets that they plaited for carrying fish in, were all very important to everyday life. Traditionally, they never wove except in the spring. And I've read that in several papers that the women didn't weave except when it was raining. But my mother didn't seem to pay attention to the rain. She just wove whenever she felt like it.
And it was from her mother that Dolores Churchill first learned basketry. Today, she is one of a few prominent native basket weavers in Southeast who shares her knowledge in classes and workshops sponsored by the University of Alaska Southeast or by various museums and culture centers. Some of the instruction techniques Dolores Churchill uses today were developed when she was assisting her mother teach classes.
The museum invited Mother first to teach a class at the museum, and that's how she started teaching. I helped her at the museum several times, but she mostly went there by herself in the early days. She'd have as much as 20 and 30 students, and the way she taught, it would take them a month to do a basket because she taught traditionally where she would just stand there and weave, and the students stood behind her and just watched. Then they would sit down and weave the basket, but it would take a month to do one basket. We devised this method, which is not a traditional way of learning, but it's a faster way of learning. You take a red piece of red cedar warp, we'll call that the warp, and the yellow cedar weft. And what you do is... We don't go into basketry immediately, we just take a piece of red cedar bark, hook it in, and just practice the technique of weaving. Once they learn that, then they go to the basket and start weaving. So they're only learning one thing at a time. They're only learning the basic weave, and then when they get to the basket, they learn how to add to the warp, but they already learn how to add to the weft with the practice piece.
Cedar bark and spruce roots are some of the traditional materials of Northwest Coast native baskets. Various weaving techniques can provide a texture to the basket, while dyed roots and grasses can provide colored designs. Part of learning basketry is the gathering and preparation of these materials. Early spring is the best time to harvest bark and roots.
If you're this late in the year, you'd pick a place where there's horsetail and the fireweed, not this real heavy grass.
In spruce root gathering, you really can't. In southeastern, there are only a very few places that you could gather. You need a place where there's sand, glacial silt, where the roots shoot out straight without, if it hits rocks, you don't want a kink in it. As I mentioned earlier, spruce root has a memory, and if it has a kink, you're going to have a hard time straightening it, so you want real straight roots.
A long time ago, they used a digging stick and just had a stick that Mother used to use that. Just use a stick that you pull with, but this is great.
Then as you take it out of the ground, I usually take my glove and run it back against the grain and take all the little things that'll come off. But if there's one that won't come off, it'll come off in the fire, so that I don't pull it, because if you pull it, it exposes it to the flame when you cook it. You just build a large bonfire and get it very hot. Then you just take a green stick that you break off, but usually an alder tree, and you put it in and cook it in the fire.
Am I pulling here? This way?
Yeah, hold this and pull it. Okay, pull.
Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. Good. Oh, it's slippery.
So the next thing is do you see this root canal? And where the feeder roots are coming out of this root canal. You'll go right along that root canal, cut right alongside of it. After you have taken the outer bark off, that very same day is really the best time to prepare all of your roots, because then you get nice white roots. But if you don't have the time, then you just split them in half and put them away until you're ready to use them. You're doing the same weave. The only thing is you're pulling 2 back, you're going over 2 and under 1.
And then the next time I take it from this far one here.
That's correct. You pull that back, pull the one that's on your far left.
Okay.
And go to 1s.
Yeah,
So,
I was
yeah.
trying.
Okay,
I just
so-
hadn't gotten all the way.
Okay, so you'll now do it.
Okay.
So this one. The warp are the spokes that stick up, and the weft are the weavers that go in and out of the, what you'd call the spokes. That's the warp. And you have 2 weavers, one going over the first warp under the second, and then going back and using the next one. So it's a half twist. The weaving is not a complete twist, but a half twist. The most difficult part of learning to weave is that you're using both hands, but you're using the fingers, not like you would with typing where you're using them constantly, but you're only using the index and middle finger. It's very, especially with the left hand, I find it's very difficult with students to learn to use.
Don't get discouraged when you're...
Doing basketry is really addictive. You just don't want to put it down when you're weaving. You just want to keep weaving because it's so peaceful, and you don't worry about anything when you're weaving. It's such a joy to weave. And what is really encouraging is that I've been teaching for so many years, and now finally there are some young people really interested, and their children are learning it. That's very encouraging. I work as an accountant, and I made a lot of money, and it was really fun to do. It helped my children, reach maturity where I could support them in a way that I wanted to support them. But now I'm doing basketry. It's not really, I don't make a lot of money, but I think it's very self-satisfying. I love to walk in the woods, and I think that harvesting in the woods and being able to see the forest the way my ancestors saw it gives me a feeling of continuity with these people who came before me, and I have a real strong feeling of self and identity with my own people, and a real understanding of how they wanted to keep the environment and live within the environment without destroying it. I have a real feeling that I want to do that.
Song
Dallas out to San Jose. Got a lot of friends south of the bay. When they asked me if I'd like to stay, I said I'm coming home to you. I'm coming home, back to Juneau's where I'm going to. Can't love nobody on the telephone. I'm coming home to you. The Japanese turned out to be okay. Hit the PI and I almost stayed. Been down in Portland now for too many days. I'm coming home to you. Got fresh cut salmons on